Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tanya. We've got a great episode for you today. We are really going to be talking about how to make your life be a ritual, bringing what I like to say the magic to the mundane, and really looking at how you can bring intention and sacredness into everyday life without overcomplicating it. We are about less, not more in this topic today. Often we're rushing through life on autopilot, missing the deeper meaning in all the small moments. And really, we want to help us remember that ritual isn't just for special occasions, and that when it's done intentionally, it can be part of our everyday routine, everyday life. So, before we dive in, I'm Tanya, and I work with women who are experiencing a spiritual shift and feel called towards something greater, but they're struggling with self doubt and trusting themselves. And I help guide them to fully embrace their power, step into that next level. Tina, would you introduce yourself for us as well?
Hi, I'm Tina, and I guide women 45 and up to deepen their spiritual connection through simple rituals, gratitude practices, and elemental wisdom. So I help them weave sacred spirituality into everyday life with ease and meaning.
I love that. As you were saying that, I could picture you weaving the handle in the back in the drum. So beautiful. So beautiful.
Yes.
Love what you do. So let's talk a little bit about shifting perspective to start with. So, what if, and let's just pretend for a minute, wave our magic wand, what if everything we did carried meaning? What if even brushing our hair, making tea, lighting a candle, those what if they weren't just an action but they actually shifted energy and really helped us create the life that we want? And this idea that ritual isn't about making things fancy or elaborate, it's about being present and intentional. So, Tina, do you want to tell us a little bit about the difference between routine and ritual? We can kind of start there.
So to me, routine is doing it's a habit, right? It's doing things mindlessly. It's doing the same thing over and over again. And it's not being present. It's just automatic. It's an automatic action. When we bring ritual into it, we can be doing that same action, but we're doing it mindfully. So if we're drinking coffee, we're holding our coffee and we're saying, and I know you love to do this, you send it Reiki and you say positive things to your coffee, right? And that's one way of bringing ritual into your morning, or like a gratitude practice. This is what I preach all the time, is gratitude. And we oftentimes think of gratitude as a habit. We try to make it a habit. It's If we can make it a ritual, then we're mindfully doing the gratitude. We're mindfully feeling the gratitude. And so you could do a shower. I mean, all of these things you can um, do and make it a ritual. And that would be, just taking the time to do it mindfully and do it very intentionally.
Mhm. And I love that because, just even as you mentioned the shower, I think of what's happening quite often when we're in the shower is just lots and lots of thoughts, many of which are heavy or negative or stressful, or I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I got to hustle. I like it almost brings in that energy of hustle and overwhelm. And when we can just shift that perspective with the things that we're already doing, and that's really what we're talking about today, is how we can shift the perspective and shift the change slightly to make our life more meaningful. And it does, it changes the moments and it makes it different. It makes things
Yeah,
different.
it does. If you think about taking a shower and intentionally telling your body how much I love it as you're washing. I love you, arms. I love you, legs. I love you, belly. And that brings so much intention in and makes it a ritual.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I love
And
that.
I love to use the shower for cleansing, like releasing any energy
Yeah.
that I've picked
Hmm.
up, anything that needs to go. But I also love to do both that and energize. Like, okay,
Hmm.
let's clear it all away. And now let's fill me up with that energy. Like,
Hmm.
let's give me some high vibe today. Because because sometimes we get, like we've talked about before, getting stuck in the healing. So if
Hmm.
all I'm doing is releasing, 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 I'm not intentionally giving myself an intention.
Hmm.
So then I end up just kind of in that release, release, release mode. But then putting both of those intentions in your shower, just like you would use shampoo and conditioner, right? I'm
Hmm.
shampooing to release and conditioning to set the intention for the
Right.
day, and being able to really create, all right, when I step out of the shower, I'm clean in more ways than one. That was hard to say, but so what are some rituals that you do? Like how do you start your day? What are things that you do that help set the tone?
So for me, the first thing I do is a meditation. So I come in, well, what I do is I go in and I make coffee, and then I come and I know that I have to kick the cats and the dogs out of my room, and then I lock myself in here and I do a meditation. And that helps to set the tone for my day. And then as I go, I'm like, I stay away from my phone for at least an hour in the morning, other than the meditation, which I'm plugging that in and push and play on the meditation. I'm not looking at anything else and listening to my meditation, doing my meditation, staying away from the phone in the mornings, um, taking the time to go for my walk after the meditation, and those walks that I've been taking are a time of um listening. So it's like sometimes I have been listening to books here and there lately, which I never used to do, but that's the only time I get to listen to books nowadays. So um that's I've been listening to books here and there, but a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm listening for what does the earth have to tell me, or what does the trees have to tell me, or what, like this morning I was out for my walk, and I come walking around this corner and three elk standing there, and right at that time I had been saying that, what do I need to know today? What's the earth telling me, and walk around, there's the elk, and I walked a little bit further. Of course I scared them, they went off. I had to take pictures of them, of course. And then I come around and there's a whole herd of elk over here in the field across the way. And I was like, oh, and I still haven't looked up what elk. I know some of what elk is. It's stamina, and it's community, and things like that. And so I want to dig a little bit deeper into what does elk mean. But yeah, I get those little answers when I do that listening. And so that's my routine. And then I come back and I um jump in the shower and get started for my day. So, what's
And
your routine in the
well,
morning?
I was just going to say, it's fun to hear you talk about that because you light up, like your
Oh,
experience even lights up. And I think, but, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because what a beautiful way to start your day with intention. And that bleeds into the rest of the day, right? And so just being able to have that enjoyment, being out connecting with nature, seeing the animals, having that experience sets the tone for the day. So
right.
I think that's really why even talking about a morning routine and a morning ritual is so important with that. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
and
I forgot. I do after my meditation, I do a gratitude. So I write down in my gratitude journal what I'm grateful for. And so I do that. And as I'm doing that, I'm allowing myself to feel grateful. My meditations are mostly nowadays thinking about at the end of the meditations, it's like what do I want to send out into the world? How do I want to be? How do I want to feel? And so um as I'm doing my gratitude practice, I'm feeling it. And then I'm feeling gratitude. And then I also do some journaling, and then I go for my walk. So
mhm.
almost forgot that part,
I
the
know it's
important
like one
part.
of the most important parts. Um,
Yeah.
and mine is very different because every day is different.
Hmm.
And I have, I wake up and the very first thing I do before I even put my feet on the floor is I do my self healing Reiki session. That's my one constant. And then from
Mhm.
there, it's varied. But you know, once that, of course, I'm making coffee and I'm sending my coffee Reiki because that's also part of what I do. I'm interacting with my animals. That is one of my favorite thing is to be able to just give each, I have three, I've got two dogs and a cat, and to just give each of them individual time and love just is magic in my day, you know, because I just have such a great connection with them. And it's, I don't know, it's a gift for me and it's also a gift for them. So that's not a routine and it's not what I would normally consider a ritual, but this is part of what we're talking about today is creating ritual out of the life that we're already living. And that is very
Mhm.
much a ritual for me. Sending them that
Right.
love, giving them a little energy as well, making sure that they know that they matter to me this morning and that I'm grateful that we're all hanging out here together. Um, and then I've got my coffee going. Um, and then it just kind of varies. Sometimes I have my youngest at home, sometimes I don't. So it depends whether or not I'm getting him out there. Um, Sometimes with my guy and his schedule, it's everything for me changes just based on kind of what's going on within my family. But there's almost always a card pull. There's most often at least a gratitude journaling or some sort of journaling. Even in my planner that I use for my work that I do, there's three little spots where I can write what I'm grateful for. So I use that if I don't have time, or in addition to if I do have time to do a full journaling session. Um, my most favorite is being able to light a candle, you know,
Mhm.
journal by candlelight, drink my coffee by candlelight. Those are my most rich mornings that really create life so amazing. And I don't always have time to do that. And so when I don't, that's okay. You know, I give myself that grace. I'm grateful because for whatever, you know, usually it's because I have a client earlier in the day. So instead, I'm grateful and sending that client love, and I don't get to do maybe some journaling by candlelight. I can save that for later. But my mornings are very fluid and very intentional. I think this morning I actually sat down and read one of my Reiki books, you know, started reading in that a little bit more. So really it's kind of like, what is it that I want to do today? And
Mhm.
there's, I have yet to be like, ooh, I can't wait to go put on makeup. Like, no, that's not, you
Right.
know, I mean, but it is very, it's very purposeful. It's very intentional. It's what makes me go, ooh, that looks fun.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's literally just sitting there with my animals and my coffee.
Mhm.
So mine is very, that's the only way I can describe it, is very
Fluid.
fluid. I'm a
Yeah.
Scorpio, I'm a water sign. It makes all the sense, right?
Yep.
The fluid. But yeah, but it works for me and it feels very fulfilling to me. And when I try to pack too much in, or when I try to make sure I check every box of all the things I should be doing, then it's become a chore and
Mhm.
it's no longer magic in the mundane, it's the grind. And I don't want to bring my spirituality to grind mode.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And um I I totally get that. Now like for me, I like to have that structure. I like to have those things that are non-negotiable that I know that I'm doing, and it's like we're doing boom boom boom, and but I do them in a more intentional way. So I do it with, and even like when I'm journaling, I have started doing the journaling by candlelight. So as soon as I get done with my meditation, I light some candles in my room, and I light one on I have a little altar behind me that is my family altar. It's for for working with our ancestral, not, I don't want to say trauma patterns, our ancestral patterns. And so every morning I light that candle and I say my prayer for our family, and I put that there. And then I light the other candles for my journaling. And I, it, I, when I first started, well, when I was doing the meditations, and I've been doing these meditations for almost 2 months now, I think. And when I come out of meditation, I don't want that bright light. I don't want any kind of light. And so I started lighting a candle and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is it. This is how and so I do until it gets daylight out and then
Mhm. Yep.
then I'll turn a light on or until
Yep.
I'm done and then I'll turn a light on. So,
Well, and really even looking at how we can infuse a little magic into the things we're already doing. Like one of the things that you just mentioned reminded me of the way I like to wake up because I don't like a lot of light either. I don't want my alarm clock being loud.
yeah.
I actually have, I call them fairy lights. I don't know what they are, but like the little lights that you can put around
Mhm.
the ceiling. It's on each wall going around my ceiling, and they're very soft, very light, very soft, gentle light. And I have them set on a timer to turn on at a certain time every morning. And typically it's after the time that I normally wake up.
Mhm.
So, if I normally wake up at 6 or 5:30, I'll have them on at 6 or whatever. I don't remember what the time is set for, but whatever it is. And then I usually wake up naturally prior to, and then I can do I know I have time for my self Reiki. And by the time I'm finishing my self Reiki, they click on
Mm,
somewhere around that window. And so it's a very low, very soft, very gentle way of waking up versus that obnoxious alarm that we
yeah.
usually wake up to. And that is just part of my natural rhythm. And I notice it doesn't matter. I want to say that I will go to bed early at night. I do not. But it doesn't matter what time I'm going to bed. I still naturally wake up in that way. And that brings a little bit of magic to
Mhm.
my day. Just
Yeah.
being able to wake up in that way. It's just, I don't know, it's pleasant.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I unless I know I have to be somewhere at a certain time, I don't do the alarms. I can't. It's like, uh, and
Yeah.
my phone is always I don't have a clock in my room and my phone's always in here in my office. And so I never know what time it is when I get up. And it's usually around the same time, usually around 5:30, 6 o'clock, or, sometimes 6:30. Now, since time change, it's been kind of around closer to 6:30.
Mhm.
But
So we've talked a little bit about the morning routines or rituals. How can we bring some of that feeling of ritual into middle of the day, maybe even meal times or anything like that? What are your thoughts on middle of the day? Because for me, it's easy to pack it in the morning, but
right.
once I get moving, it's like I'm going. Things are moving, things are shifting. So, what are your thoughts and ideas on how to bring it in throughout your day?
So, I love one of my favorite things is just taking a minute out of my day and just asking, what am I grateful for in this moment? And what that does is just pull you back into being more, again, intentional and more present. And we're thinking about those things that we're grateful for. And um and then also like maybe blessing your food. And I know like a lot of times we don't think about that, but if you go out to lunch, you can we're both Reiki masters, so we'll send a little bit of Reiki to the food or whatever. But you can just sit there and just bless your food and in a way that people don't have to notice or whatever,
Yeah.
But just blessing your food helps to bring that intention into and helps to bring more of a religious, more of a ritualistic type of a feel to it. Um, and just paying attention to the food too as you're eating it, being slower in your eating instead of shoveling it in, which I have a tendency to do quite often, especially if I'm out to eat. We're busy jabbering away and just like shoveling in. If you can be more intentional and think about the taste and the texture and all those things, that can be
Mm-hmm.
something too.
Mm-hmm. When I was doing a lot more health coaching a while ago, and that was one of the things I loved to coach my clients on was bringing intention to the meals because
Mhm.
we usually consume an entire meal in about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And really, we should be giving a minimum of 20 and slowing it down. literally chewing our food to the point that it's basically like I always say 30 chomps,
Mhm.
30 chews before we, swallow that, and all of the, I mean, there's so much health benefits in all of that, but bringing in oxygen and allowing ourselves to really inhale the oxygen, put our fork down, put the sandwich down, set it down, whatever it is, take 3 deep breaths, just giving ourselves oxygen to really help support the gut, like all these different things. And really, back then I wasn't talking about ritual, but now I can see how that gives us an opportunity to slow the hell down and bring in some meaning. And if you're thinking about blessing the food, which I'm like you, I do that when I'm eating. I don't always want people in a restaurant to see what I'm doing. This is not a
Yeah.
production. So
Yeah.
I don't close my eyes. I don't say anything. I don't hover my hands over.
Mhm.
I send it and send gratitude. And I know that it's coming in as a high vibe. And so to be able to do that and then breathing, setting my fork down, taking deep breaths, and really from that, I am taking care of my body. I am bringing this in. That is the shift, right?
Mhm.
If we're doing it for, and it's absolutely appropriate to do these things to shift our health, to have better health, but just even a slight additional tweak to that makes it more of a ritual where it's like,
Mhm.
this is part of my spiritual practice, is breathing in the air, which is helpful for my body before I take the next bite. Like, it's not about doing more, it's about making the things that you're already doing more intentional and
More
more
intentional.
purposeful.
Exactly. And like even being present in conversations, I think we talked about I talked about this in another one of our videos, but how important it is to make eye contact with the person you're talking with, putting your phone away and just being so present. And that, just that in itself it can bring that intention and that ritual in, or setting your intention before you speak, you know, how do I want to, and just kind of like what I talked about with my meditation, how do I want to, what energy do I want to put out? How do I want to be? And we can set that intention when we're in a group, or if we're going into a group or we're going into a setting, we can think about those things that we want to, um, how we want to speak, how, who, what we want to say. So
Ooh.
doing little things like that
Um, so we can do the same food thing at home just as much as we can when we're out, right?
out. Yes.
One thing I love that you brought that up because I do work with people on relationships. I don't specifically, that's not the direction I go with all of my coaching, but relationships always come up in conversation with what we're working on. And over and over and over again, I see couples who are going out to dinner to have a difficult conversation. And I'm like, oh, let's not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're creating an experience that could be quite beautiful, a time and an opportunity to really connect. And we're creating a pattern so that every time we go to dinner, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be not fun. And there are other times and places rather than a date for us to be doing that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I'm kind of like, go outside and take a walk where you're not forced inside this place. We're moving, we're creating momentum and flow. Like there's a lot of ways we can do that. But I love what you said about bringing that intention and putting things away and really paying attention to who you're talking to and listening to them and allowing that time. Like, what if your intention was not, I'm going to make sure this person knows this stuff? Like, this is my opportunity to bleh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can be, but instead, what if you shifted your intention to, this is my opportunity to connect with this friend, with my partner, with this loved one, with this colleague, whatever that may be, but setting that intention to truly connect. Even if the topic comes up, it's going to come up in a completely different way.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that just kind of spurred in me because I was thinking of lots of conversations that have not turned out well because the intention is you're going to hear me out because you're basically a captive audience,
Right.
and how that
Yeah.
really interrupts the flow of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And just being present with those people. Um, some other things you could do is just like, taking a little mini reset, just taking a little bit of time, step outside, which I don't do that often enough. I feel like I need to do that more uh, in the afternoons because I don't, I do my daytime, my morning routine and everything, and then I sit down here at this desk and I hardly move. I get up to go grab a bottle of water or a snack or something, here and there if I get hungry. And I just feel like that if you can take those little intentional moments to just kind of reset, it really does help to reset your brain. I did actually a um when was it, a week ago or something, I messaged you and I'm like, I'm in such a mess. I have to go for a second walk today because I was mentally messed up. And so yeah, sometimes it really does help to shift your energy when you do those little mini resets.
Mhm. The other day, I did something similar, and I do it quite regularly as well. I very much resonate with what you just said because I don't get up and move enough.
Hmm.
And yeah, I might get up and go refill my water or whatnot, or let the dog out or something. But it's even as I'm going to do that, I'm not mentally in it. I'm
Right.
I'm still very distracted even as I'm doing those things. And I go right back and sit right back down at my computer, and it's like I never even left.
Hmm.
And so I love what you said about that reset because it's an intentional, like, yeah, I might be filling up my water and letting the dog out, but I'm aware, I'm purposeful, and I'm going to stand outside and I'm going to, instead of just like, come on, come on, come on, hurry up, let's
Yeah,
go, being out there, noticing the sun or the clouds or the birds or whatever, and just taking that little moment as a gift. And that's not like it's long, and it's not like her hustling is going to do any benefit for me,
exactly.
purposeful.
Yeah. And or just taking a deep breath when you go out, the other thing I notice about me when I get done working, and working from home is not, it's it's hard because what happens is you're still in work mode afterwards. And so what happens, I catch myself all of the time. It's, you know, 5:30 and Joe's like getting hungry, and I'm like, okay, shutting down on my computer. I close it. I walk out of the room and my mind is still in the room and I haven't completely um reset to where I'm out of work mode, right? So I go in and I start cooking and I'm still thinking about um whatever I was doing, and Joe's trying to talk to me, and I'm totally off into, my other um world there. And so I have to, it almost feels physically like I almost have to just like really work hard at pulling myself back and be like, okay, I'm right here right now, and being with him to talk with him as we're cooking dinner, because I find myself just being, especially when I'm focused, if I get really focused on doing a project I'm working on, I'm pulling myself out. That's hard. And so those resets are just, even if you have a little ritual after you get done working, what I need, I feel like I need to create one that's like right at the door here. It's like, okay, we're done with that and we're out the door, So that's, um, I've heard of people doing that having those little rituals of, I'm leaving my work at the door and I come in the house and I'm fully present with my family.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one that I need to work on.
I
No.
did a lot better job at that when I was always working, not in my home.
Hmm.
And then like right now, I'm in my office, not at my house. And so there's something beautiful about that little drive. And I
Yeah.
feel like we can bring this into this conversation about how we can use that little drive as a ritual where
Yes.
we can allow ourselves to, one thing that I do like to do I'm kind of out of the habit, but it used to be very helpful for me. And I want to start this again. This is my little okay. But it is literally, this is where I'm ending. Where am I leaving it off? And writing it down in my planner so that I have a little something that tomorrow I can look at and say, okay, this is exactly where I was and this is where I left off.
Hmm.
That allows my brain to go check. I don't need to keep remembering and spinning on it. And so, and I used to do that quite well when I had a different career, and I would sit down at the end of the day and write down all the things I needed to do. And when I left, I could literally leave. And
Hmm.
so, bringing that into that can be, it can go both ways, right? So, if I have stuff going on at home and I'm on my way to the office, I can write those things down at home. Okay, these things can wait. It's allowing our brain to stop spinning on it because we now have a plan. So I
Right.
set that in plan. I'll pick that back up when I get home. I'll do all these things. The art of just writing things down is incredibly beautiful. And then that little drive, like let that little drive home. We live in small areas. There's not a big
Hmm.
commute. I think it takes me 4 minutes to drive from my office to my house, maybe
Yeah.
five if I have to wait at a stop sign.
Hmm.
And, but in that time, what can I do to set the stage for how I want to be when I get home? Can I jam out to some favorite tunes? Can I send Reiki to, whatever's around me? And I do that quite a bit just because I love it. Like I see the birds, I'm like, oh, hi, bird, here's some Reiki, hi, tree, here you go. So I mean, I do things like that, which make it more fun. But can we even just, like, what is it that would really feed your soul? And would it be just, driving and putting your hand on your heart and just thank you for the work that you did today. Thank you for showing up for the people who needed you. Like, whatever, thanking ourselves. I mean, there's so many things we can do
Hmm.
to make that commute meaningful versus bitching and moaning, backseat driving all the other vehicles, griping at the pedestrians, being pissed because we hit every red light, all of those
Hmm.
things that just naturally happen. Instead of being upset and angry, okay, awesome. I hit every red light. Do you know how many times I had an opportunity to pause?
Yeah.
This gave me an opportunity to take a deep breath and get out of that negative mindset of I hit another freaking red light. It's not like you're rushing to get home for something exciting. I mean, who
Right.
cares if you hit another red light? Awesome.
Hmm.
This gives me more time to think about how I want to be when I show up, to let myself release the shit from the day at work or whatever and just be in that place. I mean, the shift is the intention of what you want to bring into that space.
Yeah.
That I feel is what makes it a ritual, our life, our living, walking, everyday breath, a
Mhm.
ritual.
Yeah. I totally agree. I love that. And so,
Let's not pretend I'm perfect at that. I
right.
have a lot of work to do here.
I do too. I mean, I think everybody does, but we know it and we do a lot of it. So, you
Mhm.
know, and I know there are other things that I would like to bring in as far as ritual goes. So I'd like the idea of, which I don't do, um, but like closing out the day. And I actually have started like I have talked to you about this is, I draw mandalas all the time. And I've been doing it while Joe's watching whatever show he watches because he likes to watch a lot of TV. And so I'll sit down and just being in the room with him and watching or drawing the mandalas. But I sat down in here, um, in my office, and I have a table behind me that I've set up my art journal and things, and um, I have all kinds of art stuff. And I um, sat down with that and just drawing. And that is a good way to just kind of be intentional, to just sit down and just um, drawing, or like it was just, simple little flowers and a dragonfly and a butterfly and just, and it was so therapeutic, and just being intentional with that, and closing out my day and then I did a mandala afterwards, and just kind of was just, and I love doing that kind of thing. And so that's my goal, is to do that more often. Just come in here, do more of the things that I enjoy, like that, and just helping to close out my day. And then I'm not on the phone, I'm not scrolling, I'm not doing that death scroll. I'm being more intentional about how I spend my time, and taking the time to just let go of the day and just start, release it, and do the things that light me up a little bit. So,
Yeah. And I think too, even the things that as you're winding down, or even maybe it's prior to wind down time where it's doing dishes or,
mhm,
um, cleaning up, whatever the nighttime things bring in, right?
mhm,
Bringing in gratitude, bringing in, and even if you're not grateful, like maybe we're having a day and we're not in that space,
yeah,
you can actually just even wash your dishes, and you don't have to have like a spiritual thing tied to it, or a gratitude thing. It's simply washing your dish.
mhm,
You're 100% focused in looking, because even that we do mindlessly,
yep,
because it's a chore that we've done. It's a routine, right? We're
right,
so used to doing it that we do it mindlessly. So bring mindfulness to it. Just
mhm,
watch and look at your dish. Use your senses to describe it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like when I wash it? And just allow yourself to be super present as you're washing that dish. Even if you're putting it in the dishwasher, just whatever you rinse off, do
mhm,
the same thing. And instead of making it a mad race and a dash to the finish, slow it down, be intentional. Look at the colors. Usually we have these, quite often we end up with these beautiful sets that we just had to have because they're beautiful,
right,
and then we're so busy we don't even recognize them and see the beauty in them anymore. So it's
right,
like, really look at them, look at the color. What was it that drew me to this? It's so pretty. And be able to intentionally do that with the chores and the things we're already doing as well. um Bringing that just purpose, that mindfulness, that intention there is really going to create a shift in our life as well. So
yeah,
even if it's not um super like spiritual, because sometimes we're just not in that place. It doesn't have to be. It can just simply be, how would I describe the way it sounds as I put water on this plate, or as
mhm,
like, it's so interesting when we really start bringing it that focused in the present moment.
yeah,
We're in that present moment. The things we're worried about aren't there. The stress and anxiety of the future isn't there, because we are 100% present in that experience. And that is can be a huge, beautiful way of bringing ritual to our lives, or creating
yeah,
a life of ritual.
right. Shifting, and it's definitely shifting your energy. Brushing your
Mm-hmm.
teeth.
Yes.
Just focus on, how does it feel? How does it taste? How does it, and that's just being mindful in that moment, and just, so you could do that before bed or whatever, how you take off your makeup, if you do that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't wear makeup, so
So that's not part of your
yeah,
routine.
brushing your hair. I mean, all those things that can be just so, um as long bringing that mindfulness in, and being right there in the present. So,
Mm-hmm. And then looking for, like you were saying, the wind down. um that's something that I definitely want to work on and incorporate more into, because all the things I do for hobby somehow tie me back to work. So I love to read. I am such a reader. And so I start reading and it sparks ideas of creativity, and oh my gosh, I can do this and I could do that. So I have to be careful with what I read. Um, and then, oh, there was something else I thought of that I do that with as well. But just so many things like that, just helping me really check out, tune out. Oh, that was the other I wanted to do. I got an adult coloring book. So the other day I'm like, I'm going to color. And I mean, it's so fun. I have this one that's a tarot one. So I sit down to color this tarot card, and there's like prompts on there that get me thinking. And then I'm writing shadow work and doing all the things. And I'm like, okay, I actually need a little bit of a break for this. I do this all day long. And so for me, finding those right, correct things to help me wind down, I'm still kind of searching for a little bit. Um, so it might actually become journaling because that I can help get rid of, whatever,
Right.
or share what I need to for the day. Put gratitude, doing all those things to really, instead of getting me into creative mode, helping me get into closure mode.
Closure. Yeah.
um, and by candlelight, of course, would be
Yeah.
so much
Of
more
course.
rich in my world. Yes.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a teacher in I was taking some classes and we talk about the morning pages, and most people have heard about doing morning pages and just sitting down and journaling. She's like, why don't you do night pages? Because the night pages, what you do is you just dump everything and just start, it doesn't matter what it is, just let it go and that right there can help just release everything and just kind of like what you said with your um what you do from work to home, is writing down all the things that you need to do so that you can just leave it at work. But that one there is just like you have so many other things on your mind. It helps to empty your mind. So you got it down on the paper, you empty your mind, and then you can go to sleep without waking up in the middle of the night thinking about those things. So I was doing that for a while and I really liked that. And you can just burn the papers, if you want. But um yeah, I really like that. But I really prefer doing the art and the mandalas.
It'll be
For
fun to
me, that's
see.
the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's fun is that it gets to be our own practice, right?
Hmm.
The
Yeah,
mandalas for
definitely.
you, the journaling by candlelight for me, maybe even some decaf coffee. I mean, who knows,
Hmm.
but just, or tea or something. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of like, why would I drink tea? I have coffee. Just got to make sure I grab the decaf. But like what is it that lights you up? What makes you feel good? And
Hmm.
doing that those last, however many minutes, I would love to
Yeah.
say an hour, but 30, whatever you've got, to be
Yeah.
able to really wind down and have an intentional, so many times we're sitting in front of the TV and watching the TV, and the TV is telling us what to think. It's
Hmm.
telling us how to think. It's focusing our attention. And not that that's bad, that it has its place. But if we want to bring more magic and more ritual, more meaning into our life, then we create a meaningful life by doing, okay, this is the day I'm going to sit down and watch this TV program, and I'm just going to allow myself to just thoroughly enjoy it. That's very intentional versus mindlessly watching. And
Hmm.
today is the day that I'm going to sit down and journal by candlelight, or I'm going to pull cards by candlelight, or maybe even use my pendulum. I mean, all of those things are like,
Hmm.
I have them all within reach. Um, but like, what is it that I'm doing? And really, like, that is what our life, that's what brings the richness to our life, is intention. What do I want
Hmm.
to do right now? What is so important about it? And shutting off work, whether it be you and I working on our business, or whether it be
Right.
someone who's working for someone else, whether it's drama at work, whether it's drama in the family, it's intentionally shutting that off and saying that's complete for tonight.
Hmm.
And now I'm going to spend some time with myself, with my partner, with my animals. Like, it just changes. Those little teeny tiny things are really truly what change our life.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And it's um bringing the magic into the mundane. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like so much um like you said, it makes your life so much rich, so much more rich
Mm-hmm.
when we can do those things.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is one of those, like, as we kind of start to wind down this conversation, it's reminding each other and reminding everyone else that rituals don't have to be perfected or complicated.
Hmm.
They don't have to be done the same way every time, but they can if that benefits you. Like, there's no right or
Right.
wrong way to do this. They don't have to be hard. They don't have to be long. They can
Mhm.
be very short, very sweet, very intentional. Um, and maybe even allowing yourself to look throughout the day, whatever day or time of day you're watching this, like being able to say what already exists in my daily life that I can bring more presence and ritual to.
Mhm.
And just start with awareness. Oh, I can bring it here. Oh, I can bring it here. Ooh, if I were to create a wind down routine at night, what would that look like?
Right.
Just really kind of bringing that curiosity to our lives.
Yeah, definitely. And I just love that so often we think that ritual is this big long lighting the candles and doing the all the woo stuff and all of that, and it's not. It is those simple little actions throughout the day just to bring presence into our life.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Is there anything else that you feel you would like to add before we sign off on this?
I'm good.
I think I am too. What a cool conversation. I'm actually motivated
Yeah.
and excited to do all of the above, but specifically with my evening routine. That's been calling me for a little bit. So I feel like now it's the invitation of like, okay, let's
Yep.
get it done. Excited for that. All right. So, with that, we would love to invite you to connect with us. And we have all of our contact information in the description below. You can find Tina and her current offers, as well as me and my current offers down below. Um, and as always, if this was beneficial to you, please like, share, subscribe, all of the things. Really help us spread the word by sharing this with the those in your life that you love that you feel could use this.
Yeah.